Hey guys, Ryan here, and I just wanted to kind of go through some of the silly season stuff that's been going on because there's been a ton of it. Both just rumors, confirmed news. We had one driver actually sign a contract. We've had all but confirmed. I mean, we're just kind of waiting to hear it, but we know it's pretty much gonna happen. Um, And then I'm gonna kind of get my thoughts on Indy that's gonna be going on tonight, or not tonight, tomorrow, probably today by the time you guys are watching this, because I'm probably gonna be uploading this like Sunday morning during qualifying, like during Cup qualifying. But yeah, so definitely a busy episode though. And I'm gonna start off by saying the confirmed news: we have Erik Jones finally signed the contract with Joe Gibbs to confirm that he's going to be back in that 20 car next year. And this was definitely a long time coming. We kind of knew it was coming pretty much all year, but we were just kind of waiting and waiting, and then kind of seeing what was going to happen with Christopher Bell. Kind of always knew that he was going to end up in the 95. Jones was going to keep his ride at the 20 for at least one more season, which that's all he's got right now. He's only got one more season in there by the contract right now. So could he potentially be out next year for Christopher Bell and kind of swapping rides basically with him? Probably could happen. Um, but yeah, so that was kind of the big kind of contract confirmation there from Joe Gibbs confirming that we will have Erik Jones back. So that was great to hear. All but confirms then that Christopher Bell is going to that 95 car, which was vacated by the Benedetto. I still think he goes back to Joe Gibbs Xfinity, especially how nice and polite he's been to Joe Gibbs and Toyota on Twitter. Well, on Twitter and just in all the interviews and everything, he's been so polite, and I know that he's he's a great driver anyway, and very respectful. But usually, the great, even super nice drivers, when a team takes an opportunity away from them to to show what they've got um, at the cup level, um, there's usually a bit of bitterness, and we just haven't seen any of that, which tells me that I still think he's gonna have a deal with Toyota. I just think it's gonna be in the Xfinity Series at the number 20 car because KBM doesn't have a no. I keep hearing people saying Harrison Burton. Harrison Burton is not ready for Xfinity in my book. Like he is not ready for it. I don't. That I staunchly believe that. Same with Todd Gilliland and Christian Eckes. Definitely not ready. He might be. He's definitely ready for full time trucks, but not ready for full time Xfinity. Um. Yeah. So. Um. But yeah, and then Cole Custer, we still don't know exactly what's going to happen with him. I think he's still going to be I think he's going to get one of the Stewart Haas cars, but hard to say which one at this point. I think probably Boyer's the more likely option, but I don't know. Is Tony Stewart going to be too afraid to give up another veteran? Because, I mean, he's seen what's happened with all the other teams when they went to young drivers over veterans. And even this year when he got rid of Kurt Busch for Daniel Suarez, I mean, he lost out on performance. I mean, Kurt Busch has a win this year and is in the playoffs, and Suarez isn't. So, I mean, he might feel like it's too much of a risk to try and go for another going for another young driver over a experienced driver. Again, hard to really say without actually being in the team meetings and whatnot. I'd like to see Cole Custer at least get get a part-time ride, maybe in a out. Feel free to correct me on this, but I've heard people saying that like SHR and whatnot can open up a fifth car for partial season to test guys like Cole Custer. Now, I'd like to see them do that if that is within the rules, to try and to just see what Cole Custer can do in the Cup Series in a fairly competitive ride. Kind of like what Reddick's done this year in RCR equipment, getting a top 10. And that's going to kind of move us on here to talk about Tyler Reddick, because apparently he's not, like, of course we know he's not signed to drive for RCR next year, but apparently he's not even really tied down to Chevrolet at all, even though he's driven for Chevy the first 2 years of his career. He was talking with Roush, apparently, according to Adam Stern of the SBJ. He was reporting on it that apparently he's been in talks with Roush as well as other teams. So who knows where he could end up? Third Roush car, bring back the 16 or 99 numbers. I'd like to see that. I'd love to see Roush expand. Could they kick Stenhouse out? I mean, he's under contract, but could they pay off the amount of money and then tell him to hit the road? Uh, Probably they could, but I'm sure Stenhouse wouldn't throw too much of a fit because he would get the money, but then he'd also be out of a job. Hard to say. I mean, a lot of these are hard to say what teams are gonna do. I mean, but Tyler Reddick, he's got a top 10 already in the Cup Series. He's gonna end up in the Cup Series somewhere next year. Now, whether that's at RCR in a third car, which funding sounds like it could be an issue for that, which also makes me concerned because that means that Tyler Reddick doesn't necessarily have his own funding to bring to Roush, so might have to, and that's why I kind of mentioned Stenhouse, because Stenhouse has a lot of in-house sponsors as well, I believe. I don't know if Fastenal is really a Ricky Stenhouse Jr. sponsor, or if they're a Roush sponsor. I think they're Roush. I think they're more Roush based than Stenhouse based, but I guess we don't know because we haven't seen them really split at all. But yeah, Newman isn't going anywhere. He's had success at every team, and he's had fast race cars, so I think that I attribute that as well to part of why he is so much faster than Stenhouse this year. I attribute to the fact that he has experience in fast race cars, which I can't say for Stenhouse because Newman has driven for Penske. He's driven for Stewart Haas. He's driven for RCR when they were pretty competitive. And it's like, yeah, he's driven for all these great teams and was even a championship 4 contender in the RCR ride and whatnot. So, I mean, could that potentially be a reason why? Like, if Stenhouse went to a team that had fast race cars, could he step up and elevate his game a bit? I mean, I'd like to see what Stenhouse could at least do in the Cup Series if he was at another team, but funding really is the story of the game, and he's already at Roush and probably doesn't want to leave Roush. Also, the 38 being around. But yeah, with the 38 being available, maybe he goes and takes that ride. I mean, hard really to say where. I think he's going to be at a third Roush car, to be honest, but could go to could go to the 38 because that's a Roush affiliated car. I think if Clint Boyer's replaced at the SHR team, I think Boyer outright retires from there. I can't imagine another team's really willing to pick up such a high paid driver because he's in the top 10 highest paid drivers right now. So, I mean, yeah, if he gets let go from SHR, I mean, he'd have to take a severe pay cut to stay in the series, or he'd have to leave the series. Neither of which are ideal. So, yeah. So that was a lot of the kind of the silly season news that's come out over the last bit. Now I'm gonna just kind of talk about the Brickyard real quick because I've had a lot of discussions about the Brickyard and how people say, "Oh, the attendance is gonna suck," and it's like, I don't know. It's estimated at 50,000, and yeah, it's gonna look bad on TV because anything shy of the Indy 500 isn't gonna look good at Indy because they have 250,000 seats, and even if we're bringing in what would be a sellout crowd at any other NASCAR track isn't going to look like a sellout at Indy because it's a fifth of their capacity, but it's 3,000 more than Darlington's sellout last week, which everybody's attributing as a great success. Which I mean, I agree. I think it was a success, but I also think Indy's going to be a success because we're selling 50,000 tickets to that race. I mean, yes, it will look worse on TV. I will fully admit that. And that same thing with the Xfinity race. Like no race at Indy except for the Indy 500 is going to look halfway full at this point in motorsports. Now, of course, motorsports could grow back up again. We don't really know what's going to happen 20, 30 years down the road from here. Even 10 years down the road. Motorsports could have a huge resurgence, especially with potentially a new generation coming up. Now, I mean, hard to tell what the correct move is because, I mean, there's a lot of people that want NASCAR kind of going back towards what worked in the 90s. But the thing is, the market's changing as well. So, I mean, I think going towards the segments, well, sure, traditionally NASCAR fans might not like it. I think it's good for I think it's kind of trying to at least somewhat keep up with the way the market's going. And to be honest, I think it's good for the sport for them to at least attempt to keep up with the market. I know a lot of people just say, I want it to go back to the 90s. But what worked in the 90s won't necessarily work now. Because, I mean, if you take away all the options for really engineering, I mean, think about how many engineers you have working on these teams. If you take away all those opportunities, that's jobs that don't exist. That's the same thing with the rumors about Dallara coming in as and going spec. It's like, yeah, you start losing out on jobs. And I mean, there's plenty of people that would start having to go look for work elsewhere, that are clearly interested in motorsports. They would have to go find other jobs because the jobs in NASCAR would start not existing. And in this day and age where we don't have as many people interested in NASCAR, I think we need to have it. It needs to be accessible. I mean, it needs to at least seem accessible. I mean, like, you've got that kid that wants to be involved, that wants to have a job in NASCAR. I mean, they want to actually get to work at NASCAR. I mean, as of right now, I mean, it's like, yeah, they could go and there are people that are going for engineering degrees to go into NASCAR. I think that's great for the sport to have those opportunities available, and that's the same reason why I like Starting Park. Why I'm more a fan of Starting Parks than most people. So that's more people employed, more people that are getting an opportunity to at least get into the sport. Hey, if Starting Park teams didn't exist, Matt DiBenedetto, Ross Chastain, two fan favorite drivers, would never have really gotten started on their careers. So, and even MTJ would not have gotten started in NASCAR, or at least would not have made it to where he is now. Kurt Busch would not still be where he is now if it wasn't for Starting Parks and smaller teams giving people chances. So that's what I'm going to say about all that. So I think, though, NASCAR's doing what they need to do. The Brickyard 400, yes, it's going to look bad, but every race at Indy that isn't the Indy 500 looks bad on TV. And because, I mean, Indy still has to seat the full Indy 500. It's not like they can just take down all that seating. And then there's also, like, all that silly season stuff. I mean, I try to follow it as much as I can, but to be honest, it just keeps getting sillier and sillier every year. So who knows if I'm right on any of this. Hopefully, I'm at least somewhat right on some of this. So hopefully, you guys enjoy the Brickyard 400 later today. Just going to quickly do a quick shout out. Feel free to check out links down in the description for t-shirts. My Patreon is also down there. I've been doing a lot of tweaking to it. So hopefully, you guys we'll at least check it out and see what's there. I've also got links to full vlogs that are going to be going up there that you won't get. Like they're public links over there, but they aren't but there's stuff you wouldn't necessarily see on my main channel just because I feel like the video is either too long or there's stuff that I cut out for the main vlog on the channel. Also, 2 new vlogs coming out. My Bristol experience, as well as my trip to 411. Those I'm working on editing those. Hopefully they'll be up around Tuesday, Wednesday-ish. Depends. I might get slowed down by NASCAR Heat 4 coming out. Also Thursday, sometime Thursday afternoon slash evening, I'm gonna be doing a NASCAR Heat 4 viewer stream. So look forward to that. I'm gonna be doing Cup cars at all kinds of different tracks. So feel free to hop on in and tune in for that. And I think that's about it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.